There is a place the earth keeps hidden, where tiny demonic souls still whisper in the dark, waiting to be set free. You've heard of deep places, you've heard of lightless places, you've even heard of trenches so black they swallow color. But this is not merely deep, it is separate. A water layer so unmixed, so undisturbed. It doesn't behave like any other water on earth. It is a resting place, not for bodies, but for knowledge, or curses, or something that wants to be called back. Right now, while your eyes blink under the blue surface, the unmixed bottom layer sits quietly beneath you. It doesn't stir, it doesn't rise, it waits. And it has been waiting for a very long time. No current touches it. No whale sings to it. No satellite maps it clearly. This layer, heavy with salinity, cold to its molecular bones, denser than any water above, sits in select basins, clinging to the seabed like the ancient wine of the world. Aged, sedimented, fermenting, preserved, and possibly alive. The first question scientists asked when they stumbled upon these layers was, why does this water not mix? The answer was simple: physics. But the consequences were not. Below roughly 1,000 meters in certain ocean basins, the water stratifies based on temperature and salt. The unmixed bottom layer becomes so saline, so cold, and so dense that nothing above can stir it. You've felt the pull of density when swimming in layers of cool and warm, haven't you? This is the same, but eternal. A barrier drawn not by walls, but by weight. In the Black Sea, a place once connected to myth and trade and the blood of empires, the bottom layer is anoxic. No oxygen, no light, the perfect tomb, and it is not alone. The Cariaco Basin of Venezuela, the Baltic Sea's deepest pockets, the Red Sea's salt pits, Antarctica's under-ice lakes, all of them sealed, isolated, as if Earth knew something must be kept quiet. In 2016, an unmanned probe retrieved samples from one such basin, 20 meters above the seafloor, where the unmixed layer begins. The water they brought up was thick, syrupy, slightly reddish, like rust or dried blood. They said it smelled like time. Inside were archaea that hadn't evolved in 50,000 years. Not because time forgot them, but because they didn't need to change. Their environment never changed. Nothing mixed in, nothing mixed out. The scientists also found spores. Not bacteria, not fungi, something else. Something with layered RNA and traces of heavy metals bound to protein chains in a way that has never been replicated since. The official report called them unclassified biological materials, but one biochemist on the team, under his breath, called them guardians. Because what is a sealed vault without something to guard? In the unmixed layer of the Eastern Mediterranean, a diver-led mission, yes, foolishly human, described something stranger. They reached a brine pool at the seafloor, a puddle within the sea itself. The edge shimmered. When one diver dipped a finger into it, they reported feeling watched, not chilled, not pressured, just seen. He later developed hallucinations, voices that spoke of salt things and the long waiting. Perhaps it was nitrogen narcosis, perhaps something else. You may think these are stories, embellishments from divers and sleepless scientists. But the data tells its own truth. There are patterns down here, swirling loops in salt concentrations that form sigils when mapped. Is it merely coincidence? Or has the ocean written its own language in density and silence? What else is in this iron-cold box? Micrometeorites that sank through the ocean, never melting, never rising again. Their metal surfaces pitted with alien spores, still viable. Plant matter from eras before flowers, preserved with their cellular structures intact, as if the petals could still bloom if warmed by breath. Bones, not whale, not fish. Something limbed, bent in a fetal position, as if asleep. This is the box that time forgot. A sealed layer so stable that its top boundary has not risen or fallen in recorded human history. No storm affects it, no earthquake stirs it. The tectonic plates can grind and scream, but this layer doesn't answer. And yet, beneath it, something stirs. The data suggests pulses, not tides, not currents, something internal, rhythmic, like a sleeping thing shifting beneath a blanket. There are no known vents in some of these places. So what causes the pulses? Sound tests come back with anomalies, echoes that don't match known terrain. Subaquatic sonar seems to curve inside the unmixed layer, as if it bends around something massive. You begin to suspect this isn't just water. Not anymore. It's a second ocean, an ancient one, sealed off from time, biology, and consequence. The unmixed bottom layer is not just a scientific anomaly. It's a myth that forgot how to end. It's a curse sealed so tight that even memory gave up on it. It is data. It is death. It is life that shouldn't be. And above all, it is waiting for heat, waiting for current, waiting for you. Because what is a box really? A question. And questions, as you know, want to be opened. You descend, not in a ship, not in a suit, but in a feeling, down past the sunlit glimmers, through the twilight where color fades to bruise, deeper into the ocean's ink, until even pressure forgets to push. You are here to meet the residents of the unmixed bottom layer. They do not speak, They do not shine, they do not move as life should. They wait beneath the thermocline, below the boundary where most creatures fear to dwell. An ancient community ulces slowly in the gloom. You can't see them, not clearly, but they know you've come. The first to greet you are the flora that forgot the sun. Here, photosynthesis is a myth, a laughable fantasy told by wandering molecules. The plants that live in these silent pools feed not on light, but on chemistry. Halophytic filamentous mats cling to rocks, sipping trace metals like wine. Others grow not in clumps, but in mirrored spirals, as if mimicking something they saw once, long ago. Perhaps in the reflections of drifting corpses. There is one species, a fern-like bacterial colony that curves into patterns indistinguishable from cave runes. Every 6 weeks, they release spores that spin into the surrounding water and stop mid-suspension. Then they wait. If nothing changes, they disintegrate. But if a current passes, however faint, they replicate violently. They're sensitive to movement, to presence, perhaps even to intention. The fauna? The fauna are stranger. In one of the Baltic's brine pockets, a group of eyeless polychaeta worms loops their bodies into double helices, tangling into knots for days, only to unravel in synchrony. When scientists filmed them, the creatures responded to the camera's electromagnetic fields. Their dance accelerated, then stopped. The footage glitched. The data corrupted. When played backwards, a single pattern emerged, an undulating shape resembling the DNA double helix, pulsing like a vein. Coincidence? No one who saw it sleeps without medication. Another creature, known only through one blurry sonar trace, appears to be a jelly-like entity spanning 8 meters. Yet it leaves no wake. It hovers at the brine interface, never rising, never feeding, just hovering. Every 6 months, its body expands slightly, as if it is listening for something. You want to ask, are they evolved for this place? Or were they placed here? The creatures here don't rely on oxygen. Many metabolize sulfur, methane, and even metal ions. One microbial cluster metabolizes manganese so efficiently that it leaves a shimmering lattice of pure metal behind, like a coral, but of iron. This was discovered in the Saanich Inlet. Divers retrieved a sample, expecting sediment. What they found was a sculpture, not made, grown. Data from its surface revealed symmetrical outgrowths, hexagonal nodes that resonated faintly when exposed to radio waves. No one knows why. But when pulsed at 13 Hz, they emitted a low tone. It resembled a heartbeat. More troubling than the bizarre metabolism or shapes was this. None of the fauna here has mutated in recent geological time. How? In every other part of the ocean, even the deepest trenches, life shifts, adapts, breaks, evolves. But the life here loops. Species identified in Black Sea samples are identical to those in the eastern Mediterranean brines. Over 2,000 kilometers apart. No gene drift, no deviation, perfect matches. Theories emerged. 1. These creatures are reproducing asexually and cloning themselves across subterranean channels. 2. They're not reproducing at all. They are the same individuals, migrating impossibly beneath the crust. 3. They are not biological as we define it, not alive, not dead, something else. Then came the whispers. In the Cariaco Basin, a hydrophone left for 6 months recorded silence. Then 5 clicks. Then a hum, oscillating between 21 and 22 hertz. When translated into audio, it sounds like wind beneath stone. But here's the true anomaly. Those same patterns were recorded in Siberia's Lake Vostok, beneath kilometers of ice. A lake believed to be entirely isolated for 14 million years. Same signal, same frequency, different hemispheres, same depth, same silence. The creatures in the unmixed bottom layer may not be many, but they are consistent. They are placed like keepers or prisoners, and still the data piles up. In a forgotten lab near Reykjavik, a cryopreserved vial is labeled BX4 unmixed. Its contents? A coiled mass of carbon threads, interwoven with silicate and heme. Not organic, not machine, something else. When briefly warmed, it twitched. There's a recording, a young scientist laughing nervously, whispering, "It looks like it's dreaming." No further data. The vial is missing. You begin to see it now, don't you? This isn't just another ecosystem. This is an ark, a preserved biological museum, a living reliquary of things that time forgot or chose to hide. And the more you observe, the more you suspect something terrifying. This layer has rules, flora that react to lightless movement, fauna that do not evolve, signals that span the planet, biological relics that resonate when seen, like a language, like a defense mechanism, like something that only activates when disturbed. What happens if a subduction quake lifts this brine? What if human greed drills into one of these pools? What if the wrong vibration pulses across the deep? What if the fauna rise? There are reports already. A cargo vessel off Crete sank in calm weather. Its last radio message, static. But within it, layered deep in spectrum, 5 clicks, the same 5 clicks. This is not just life that has waited, it is life that remembers. And it has not forgotten what the surface did. You follow a trail of breath, not yours, not any creatures, but Earth's. You drift now between the silent strata of the ocean's deepest vaults, where the water itself carries memory, not as metaphor, but as mass. Every molecule here is a record. Every shift in pressure is a syllable. You're no longer in the presence of life or death, but of atmosphere held in suspension. The sea forgot to exhale, and so it stores. This is the breath of forgotten atmospheres. Above you, clouds form, storms rage, and winds carry the weight of centuries. But down here, nothing. The unmixed bottom layer holds what the planet once breathed and chose not to breathe again. Gases, compounds, preserved in isolation. You were told by a scientist, one who only whispers now, that a sealed brine layer off the Egyptian coast contained a full profile of the Pleistocene sky. A time when mammoths wandered across steppes, when human voices were still uncertain, when volcanoes painted the horizon with every dusk. Inside this brine was a bubble, less than centimeters wide, trapped in a sediment fissure. CO2 levels 380 ppm, methane 2.3 pom, traces of hydrogen sulfide, helium-3 and something else, something unclassified. They called it compound theta. Its molecular structure shouldn't exist. Organic, but bonded with something resembling arsenic, a configuration no known organism could safely use. And yet, in the presence of light, artificial or natural, it began to shimmer, not fluoresce, not glow, shimmer, as if its shape flexed into another state. They tried to isolate it. It broke the pipette. They tried to store it. The sample disappeared, not evaporated, not destroyed. One moment it was inside the vial, the next, gone. The lab's barometric readings jumped. A door slammed shut that no one had opened. On the recordings, a soft whisper was heard, 3 seconds long, a phrase in no known language, and then nothing. You remember the lore of ancient monks in Cappadocia, who once believed the air beneath the sea was where souls were stored, awaiting rebirth. They performed rites to trap the breath of ancestors. What if they were right, but for reasons more scientific than spiritual? Data collected from deep-sea cores in the Peru-Chile Trench show atmospheric signatures with isotopic anomalies, traces of xenon, neon, and compounds found nowhere in the modern atmosphere. Some claim it points to comet impact remnants, fragments of alien skies that entered the ocean and were locked away forever. And the strangest thing? These gases resist mixing. Even when brought to the surface in sealed tanks, they cling to their layer like children refusing to leave a dream. Temperature changes fail to agitate them. Stirring creates fractal separation. not blending, a behavior never before documented. In the Gulf of Mexico's 6B Deep, researchers recovered a gas pocket trapped beneath 4 kilometers of brine. Inside were spherical structures, not air bubbles, not cells. Spheres of unknown material that rotated slowly in zero current. No explanation. Their surfaces refracted light into glyphs. The lead physicist compared them to magnetic rosary beads built by nothing we understand. One sphere cracked. Inside, silence. And then, suddenly, pressure in the room dropped. A pulse. It wasn't felt. It was remembered. One of the scientists began reciting passages from an extinct dialect of Akkadian. He had never studied the language. His eyes were blacked out, as if his pupils refused to reflect. He whispered, "It sleeps in the seal. It breathes without lungs." You begin to question, is this layer not merely a vault, but a lung? Does the earth inhale and exhale across millennia, letting some breaths rise and others sink? And if so, what is it keeping down here? The materials retrieved are increasing in strangeness. In Lake Vostok, beneath Antarctic ice, a drill struck a gel layer, buried in ancient brine. Suspended within were metallic filaments, organic in behavior, inorganic in composition. They moved, not with the current, but away from it. One coiled around the probe. The team tried to extract it. It snapped back. When finally removed, its ends had fused together, as if it didn't want to be separated. On exposure to air, the filaments sang. Not music, not sound, vibration. The vibrations, when run through a translator, formed mathematical patterns matching the golden ratio. Nature's fingerprint, but too exact, too deliberate. You wonder now if these ancient atmospheres are not just preserved for curiosity, but for activation. What if compound theta wasn't an accident? What if the gases here change when exposed? What if they are coded? One recent expedition off the East Pacific Rise recovered a brine bubble so dense it pulled sound inward. Screams from divers were muffled, not by depth, but by intent, like a sponge for noise. Inside the pocket, black threads, twitching in rhythm with heartbeat monitors on the ship, as if listening for weakness. They didn't bring that sample back. Too risky. You've read the reports, you've heard the rumors. Some say the air in this layer is from before Earth had mammals. Others say it's not Earth's at all. The trace helium-3 levels suggest deep fusion reactions, like those found in stars. In 2023, a quiet scandal unfolded. A submersible recovered a sample with trace curium, a synthetic element. Impossible. Never occurs naturally. And yet, there it was. The file was deleted, but a copy remains, circulating between hushed emails and black-suited conferences. You begin to feel it. This isn't a research question anymore. It's a containment breach waiting to happen. The Earth didn't forget to mix this water. It refused. There are things in this layer that should not interact with time, that remember the sky and other colors, that carry the voice of volcanoes and extinction-level winds. Breath is life. But this breath may unwrite it. You descend for the last time, not to observe, not to collect. This time, you come to ask. The pressure embraces you like a closing fist. The lightless, deep groans, not from pain, but memory. And the layer, this unmixed bottom layer, no longer feels like a passive thing. It feels aware, not intelligent, not sentient, but something colder, responsive. It has kept secrets. Now it begins to answer. You aren't the first to descend this far, but you might be the first to listen. In a carved clay fragment from the Hittite Empire, found far from any sea, there's an inscription. Do not split the sleeping water, for it is where God's buried breath. The glyph for water is inverted, turned inward like a wound, and for centuries it meant nothing. But now, standing on the precipice of unmixed silence, you understand. This is not just a layer of strange density and chemistry. It is a deliberate reservoir, a locked vault, a jail, a quarantine. A place where demons, or their biological equivalents, have been placed by time itself. You kneel at the edge of a brine pool within the Red Seas, Atlantis too deep. The water here is heavier than your thoughts, laden with metals, iron, manganese, rare elements in unnatural concentrations. You watch as a bubble rises from the dark, as if exhaled by something that hasn't breathed in 10,000 years. Inside that bubble, not just gas, spherical organisms, translucent sacs containing what resemble chromosomes. Not of fish, not of crustaceans, but something vertebrate, quadrupedal, possibly humanoid. Genetic sequencing returned unknown sequences, shared no ancestor with anything living. The sequence was encrypted, mathematically, a code written in flesh, not just DNA, an instruction. This isn't evolution gone sideways, this is archived creation. Some theorize that this layer holds versions of biology that the Earth tried, then buried. Others say they're intrusions, samples from elsewhere, from off-world contamination absorbed during asteroid impacts and trapped before they could spread. You want answers? The layer gives you fragments. In the Sea of Marmara, scientists in 2009 captured video footage of an unmixed brine pool where electric signals flickered across the surface. not random. When plotted over weeks, they created geometric patterns. Some matched patterns on Sumerian ritual drums, others, Mayan calendars. Too far-fetched? Too coincidental? The same patterns appeared 3,000 meters beneath in the bioluminescent pulses of a worm-like creature with no mouth, no anus, no obvious function. Its light blinked in base 60 sequences, a system used by ancient Babylonians. You don't believe in myths, you believe in data, but data keeps behaving like memory. Inside this layer, a new biology emerges, not aggressive, but watchful. Some of the microbes retrieved from the Black Sea exhibit behavioral patterns. They migrate toward warmth, not for survival, but curiosity. They form trails in petri dishes, then circle back. When split into two dishes, they mirror each other across space. The action of one affects the other, not entanglement, something else. You remember the phrase whispered from part 3. It sleeps in the seal. It breathes without lungs. You wonder, was it breathing now? Climate change is lifting lids from these deep layers. As glaciers melt and currents shift, unmixed waters are beginning to stir. In 2028, off the coast of Japan, a deep-sea vent ruptured and lifted a segment of bottom layer water into the surrounding sea. Within 24 hours, surface fish were found swimming in circles. Seabirds avoided the area. Instruments recorded new isotopes never before detected in marine environments. Within that plume of rising brine were RNA strands, replicating without cells. Free RNA, writing without parchment, instructions without authors. What if this is not a prison? What if it's a hard drive? The Earth's locked vault for data too dangerous to trust on land. Instructions for future biology. Backups of extinct atmospheres. Clues to ecosystems not yet born. And within all this, a pattern emerges. Strange sounds echo in pairs across the globe. Identical creatures separated by thousands of miles. Geometry and language buried in organic behavior. Mythologies echoing with warnings never understood. Until now, somewhere in the Ionian Sea, a data probe dips into a pool that should be still, and the water rises to meet it, not flowing, not pushed, just lifted, as if reaching out. They pulled the probe, but too late. It came back with a residue that moved under microscopes. Not alive, not dead. A fluid with intent. It clung to glass like a fingerprint. It left behind a symbol, a ring, a perfect circle with a slash through it. Found later carved into a bone flute in Siberia, dated 20,000 years before present. The pattern appears again on obsidian tools from Neolithic Malta, and again on cave walls in Patagonia. None of these sites have ocean access. None should know this layer exists. Yet here it is. You begin to ask the final question. What if this layer was sealed not by accident, but by design? The density, a lid. The salinity, a lock. The anoxia, a sterilization. The darkness, a final warning. You recall the myths of lost civilizations. Atlantis, Mu, Lemuria. Not just sunk, but sealed. Maybe the stories didn't get it wrong. Maybe we've been standing on the vault door all along. And now, the climate opens it with every melting glacier. The seal weakens. With every drill, every sonar pulse, every heat wave, the water begins to shift. This layer is not passive. It is a reservoir of air, of code, of things buried. The earth has not stirred these depths in 12,000 years. And when it does, will it remember us or rewrite us?